Woo! This is The Fight Guy. I'm your host, Guy Pert. Gilbert Burns taking on undefeated prospect Michael Morales tomorrow evening at UFC Vegas 106.9, The Eagle. I'm going to let you know who's going to win every single fight on this card. We're going to start with the main event. We're going to start with Gilbert Burns and the Michael Morales fight. And we're going to work our way down to the best fight on the card, the early prelim opener, everybody's favorite lesbian women's MMA match of the week, Tisha Pennington versus Luana Pinheiro. We're going to start with the main event. Not going to waste any time. I got some shit I got to do today. I do have some notes. I'm going to play a little video for this segment. But main event, Gilbert Burns taking on Michael Morales. This is going to be a great fight. I'll start with some notes that I came up with for Morales. And I'll play the video here. But he does leave openings on the feet. He's really crafty everywhere. Even against the fence, but here, 42-second mark, he leaves his guard down a lot. He gets caught like that. It's pretty common, and, you know, this was just his Contender Series fight. The next thing that I noticed here against the fence, he is crafty off the fence. You saw that Superman punch. He had a lot of confidence, smacked his glove before he threw it. Interesting setup, but Michael Morales, this is just a clip from one fight. He's a really crafty striker. I feel like he does his best work when he's at range, all right, whenever he's not being pressured or, you know, whenever he's forced in the pocket against guys with less reach than him, which is Gilbert Burns this fight. Those guys tend to find success. Michael Morales, like I said, he's crafty in distance. He's crafty against the cage, but he does leave some openings on his feet, and even in the grappling department, we'll go here, 1850. People take him down. And we got to watch an advertisement about Novocaine. Here we go. On Paramount Plus. Perfect. Perfect. In the middle of my video, yeah, let's do an advert for Novocaine. Right here, you can see Michael Morales. He is clinched up against the cage, all right? He is a judo black belt and freestyle wrestling expert. But still, he does get taken down more often than you would think for an undefeated prospect. Right here, there wasn't even much resistance there. I mean, he did have the body lock. Giles did have his hands locked around the waist. But still, my point here, I think you're understanding what I'm putting down. Gilbert Burns, what does he do better than most fighters in the division? He pressures forward. He gets in the pocket. He lands, you know, that overhand. He'll land some dirty boxing, and his takedowns, his grappling is just next level. It's one thing to have really good jiu-jitsu / grappling, but, you know, when you got the wrestling to match that, like Gilbert Burns versus the Jack Della Maddalena fight was absolutely insane. You know, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Jack Della Maddalena just fought last weekend, so a lot of people probably watched that fight many times, but Gilbert dominated Jack for the first two rounds. At least they weren't 10-8 rounds, but Gilbert Burns was going to win that fight had Jack Della Maddalena not finished him. I don't think that Michael Morales is... I'm not going to say that he isn't special, but we've seen a lot of undefeated prospects that had more hype behind them than Michael Morales get shut down this year, and who else better to do that than Gilbert Burns? All right, where Michael Morales is weaker, you know, inside the distance, you know, when guys are closing in on the pocket or taking him down, I think Gilbert Burns will exploit that better than almost anybody. And that's what I said last week. You know, people were laughing at me. I said Jack Della Maddalena, he's got some of the best boxing Bilal's ever seen. His jiu-jitsu will neutralize Bilal's wrestling. And it played out exactly how I thought. I think this week, I don't think that Morales has the grappling skills to keep Gilbert Burns away for 5 rounds. Not saying that this is going to go the distance, but how many 5-round fights has Morales even been in? All right, this is, you know, Gilbert Burns, I get it. He's getting closer to 40, but I think he's looking better now than, you know, he has in his past couple of fights. So I'm betting on Gilbert Burns this fight. Heavy underdog upset. He's plus 500 right now. I don't know the next time you would see Gilbert Burns at 500. That being said, if he does get finished this fight, if he gets knocked out like a lot of people think Morales is going to do to him, I don't know if we'll see Gilbert Burns fight again. You know, this is pretty much the bottom of the totem pole. You're headlining fight nights at the Apex, and if you get knocked out against an undefeated prospect, a young guy coming out of nowhere, sorry, Gilbert. It's not looking good for him. So my official pick, though, I think Gilbert Burns is going to get it done. I think that his grappling is going to be too much for Morales to keep up with, and I even think he's going to have some success on his feet. He had success on his feet against a lot of tough guys with way better striking than him, including Jack. You know, Jack was dominating him on the feet when they were on the feet, but Burns did have his moments, and I think that he will have his moments, but the grappling is going to be too much. Gilbert Burns via TKO, ground and pound. That's what I got for this fight. That's my main event breakdown. I did have another clip I wanted to play here. I think I'll go to 25-40 real quick just to prove my point. But right here, I believe he's about to get taken down. Right hand over. No, he's leaving openings on his feet. This is what I'm talking about. There's the takedown attempt. It's an easy takedown attempt. I don't know how he got that on Michael Morales. It was like such a half-assed takedown attempt. All I'm saying is if Gilbert Burns can do this, which he will do 10 times better, he's going to have a lot of success against Morales. So we're going to move on to the co-main event. Rodolfo Bellato taking on Paul Craig, the Scottish bastard himself, the Bear Jew. Paul Craig, it's no secret, he's fighting for his career this fight. It's very likely he won't have another fight in the UFC. Maybe they'll give him one more if he loses this one, but he's won in his last 5. I do like that he's back at light heavyweight. I think that suits him a little bit better for some reason. It feels like the grappling drop-off between light heavyweight and middleweight is steep. And what I mean by that is just like the technique. Like Paul Craig, you know, he's going to triangle choke guys in light heavyweight because nobody in light heavyweight triangle chokes guys. Middleweight, it's a little bit more skilled. The lighter man's skill, if you will. I think light heavyweight, that's the division where it starts to really just translate into one-punch knockout power. A lot of ferocious strikers. Even the grapplers are knocking guys out. Look at Ankalaev. Paul Craig, I like him better at light heavyweight. Rodolfo Bellato, he shot a takedown attempt in every single pro fight he's had. At least, I mean, he's only had a couple fights in the UFC. At least his UFC fights, the 2 that he's had, 3 that he's had, he's shot in takedowns in all these fights. Jimmy Crute absolutely dominated him in the first round on the ground. I'm going to go with 2 underdogs here. I don't really even have much else to say for this. The Scots fight the best when their backs are against the wall. They've been dealing with English bullshit for centuries, for countless generations. I think Paul Craig is going to deliver. His back's against the wall here. He's fighting for his job. He knows it's going to be bloody. He knows it's not going to be easy, but he has no other choice than to come out on top. I think he's going to submit Rodolfo Bellato. I do. I think Rodolfo's got a deficiency off his back, at least, on the ground. I'm not saying that Paul Craig is going to end up in a dominant position on the ground. Even if he's off his back, that's even better. He's shifty. He's crafty on his back. And in the light heavyweight division, I'm going to go with Paul Craig. Give me the Scot. Give me the Scottish bastard in 2. He's going to get a submission in the second round. Next fight on the card. Third fight on the main card. Mayron Santos taking on Sodiq Yusuff. I went back and forth on this fight a few times. I originally did have Sodiq Yusuff to win. I changed my pick to Mayron Santos. Then I changed it back to Sodiq Yusuff. And then for my final pick, I decided to go with Mayron Santos. He did get away with a robbery against Francis Marshall at UFC 313 in March. He did not win that fight. Many of you probably agree with me. He did not win that fight. But I was in Vegas. I did have money on him, so I'm going to leave it at that. I do think he looks better in this fight against Sodiq Yusuff. Yusuff, I believe he hasn't fought since UFC 300 against Diego Lopez, which he was knocked out in the first round. He's a little bit chinny. I believe 2 of those 4 losses are via knockout, so he has been knocked out before. Mayron Santos is a Muay Thai specialist. He looks really good on his feet. Even against Francis Marshall, he was doing a pretty good job. Marshall was able to take him down a couple of times, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Santos. I think he's going to have a lot of success on the feet. I think he's going to land a lot of leg kicks. The reach is about the same, but I think he's going to have more success in the striking. I think Sodiq is going to be forced to try to grapple with Santos. Maybe we even see him try to take him down in the first round, but if he tries to strike with Santos, I just think he's playing a game that he can't really win on the feet. Santos is really safe. Sure, we saw him get rocked hard against Francis Marshall, but the ability to stay safe on the ground and recover and then come back and win the other rounds was still impressive. Whether or not you disagree with the judges like me or not. I think Santos is going to look good on the feet. I think he's going to be able to manage his distance pretty well. Maybe he gets taken down 1 or 2 times this fight, but I don't think that is going to be the end-all, be-all. I'm going to go with Mayron Santos to win this fight via decision. I think he's going to get it done unanimous decision, so that's my official pick for that fight. It'll be real interesting to see. Next fight on the main card, working our way down, Dustin Stoltzfus taking on Nursultan Ruziboev. Look at these names. My name's Guy. And then these people say, I should be a fighter, just so when people make video breakdowns about me fighting, they don't have trouble trying to pronounce my name. That being said, I'm going to go with the guy with the trickier name to win this fight, Nursultan Ruziboev. There were a few fights whenever I saw this card, like Gilbert Burns. I know he's taking on a badass prospect in the division, but Nursultan Ruziboev, and then the next fight, I'll get to that in a second. I immediately saw these guys, and I knew they were going to win. I think Nursultan Ruziboev is going to knock Dustin Stoltzfus out. Let's see the last time he fought. Okay, so he is coming off of a knockout win against Bariut, who just won last weekend in November. So he is coming off of a knockout win, but that is following his knockout loss against Bruno Ferreira, who I believe is washed. We're not going to do the MMA math for this fight. I'm coming to a different conclusion because I just think Nursultan Ruziboev is really fucking good. I think he's really good. I do think he's going to knock Stoltzfus out. First round. That's my official pick for this fight. I didn't do a whole lot of homework on Stoltzfus, so not a whole lot to say. It's a little bit of a blind pick for that. I don't know too much about him. But I really like Nursultan. I think he's got a lot of momentum, and he just looks really fucking good. I think he should be ranked in the middleweight division. Maybe we'll get it by the end of the year. Maybe with a round 1 finish, which I believe we will see tomorrow night, we see him get a ranked opponent next. First fight on the main card, Julian Erosa taking on my man. All right, you guys have seen him here on the channel before. You're going to see him again. Melkiziel, we call him the Melk Man, Costa. This is going to be a great fight. I'm more excited for this fight than maybe any other fight on the card, with the exception of Gilbert Burns, just because I really love Gilbert Burns. Melk Costa, he hopped on the channel. He was the second fighter to do an interview with me, so I will always love this man. On top of that, with my bias aside, he's got really good Muay Thai. He does. At Shoot to Box, that's an amazing gym down in Brazil. Melk Costa, his striking is phenomenal. He's got really strong kicks. He's got good boxing, good knees, just good overall strikes everywhere. Mexico City, we did see him get a little bit tired, but he does like to throw a lot of kicks. Mexico City was at altitude. We saw him throwing kicks, and both the guys were really tired. But Costa, I think he's going to have a lot of success this fight in the Apex, not at altitude, as high of an altitude as Mexico City or Denver or something like that. But I think Melk Costa is going to have a lot of success on the feet. He's going to shock Julian Erosa. I do think we'll see a couple knockdowns this fight. Maybe we'll see a little bit of grappling exchanges. Certainly going to get some work against the clinch. Costa, he doesn't have the best takedown defense, but his grappling game is insane. I mean, you saw it his first fight of the year against Andre Fili. I've talked about this fight a couple times before, but Fili, landing a double leg takedown, shooting a double leg takedown, goes right into a guillotine, gets subbed in front of his mom on her birthday in his hometown. Costa's that guy. He's got good grappling. He's got traps he could set up, but his striking is really where I think he's going to shine this fight. I think he's going to land more significant strikes. I think he's going to control the pace on the feet. Not to say this is not going to be a competitive fight, but I do think Melk is going to win this via decision, 29-28, my official pick. I'm very excited to watch this fight, but those are all the fights on the main card. Those are my picks. We're going to knock through the prelims real quick. Gabe Green taking on Matheus Camilo. This is... Don't know a whole lot about Matheus Camilo. This is going to be his UFC debut. However, I did go with him to win just because Gabe Green hasn't fought in a little while, and I believe he's coming off of a knockout. There it is. He's coming off of a knockout loss to Brian Battle. So his chin is a little questionable. As you can see, he's finished 10 of his 11 wins. All right, he's 11-5. 4 of those wins are via knockout, and 6 are via submission. So he is a good grappler. He is able to find the submission, but we haven't seen it in over 5 years. He hasn't had a submission. So he's 2 in his last 5. His most 2 recent fights, 2 and 3 years ago, he's lost both of them, but coming off of a round 1 knockout loss from Brian Battle, more than a year and a half off. That's my golden rule for that reason. I'm going to go with the prospect. I'm going to go with the new guy they signed, Matheus Camilo, to probably knock Gabe Green out. And I don't really know a whole lot about Camilo. So the next fight on the prelims, Jared Gordon taking on Diego Moses. I'm going to go with good old reliable Jared Gordon to get this done via decision, 29-28. I think Diego Moses is going to have success one round, but I see Jared Gordon dominating most of this fight. I think his wrestling is better. I think Diego Moses has taken on a lot more damage than Jared Gordon, at least as of lately in his UFC career. We'll check out his record real quick, but in his last 5, he is 3-2. Hasn't been knocked out. He hasn't been knocked out since 2023 by Benoit Saint Denis, which I don't think BSD is as good as everybody says he is. I don't even think he should be ranked, but we'll save that conversation for another day. Maybe his next fight. Diego Moses, I believe he's just taken a little bit more damage than Jared Gordon, at least in his recent fights. Jared Gordon, he's 2-2-1 in his last 5, but a couple of those decisions I don't really agree with. You see his most recent fight. I thought he won that fight. It was a split decision against Hek Perast. But the fight that I really want to highlight is the Paddy Pimblett fight. I really thought that Jared Gordon won that fight. I think Gordon's got really good wrestling. I think he's got good IQ when he's on the ground. I think he prioritizes position over submission, which you hear DC rambling on about. But whether or not you like DC or hate him, or you like that line or you hate it, that's what fighters got to do to win these fights sometimes. All right, this is how, these boring fights. I don't think Jared Gordon is just going to sit with control time. I think he's going to try to deal some ground and pound, maybe work for a submission, but he's going to prioritize playing it safe, trying to win this fight. I think he is going to beat Diego Moses via decision. I think he's going to land some takedowns, have a lot of control time, maybe 7 minutes of control time. That's my lucky guess. 7 minutes of control time sounds right in my head. I think he's going to land some ground and pound. He's going to have some success on the feet, but it's really going to be about setting up his takedowns and staying safe in the grappling exchanges with Diego Moses, because it's no secret, Moses really knows how to hunt for the submission. His record for submissions is 8-1. We haven't seen a sub since January 21st of 2023, and it was against my man Melquizael Costa, so he's a slick grappler as well when it comes to the jiu-jitsu world. So Diego Moses, he's a little bit of a ground shark, but Jared Gordon, I think, is going to have the responsibility of getting him down and keeping him down, staying safe, prioritizing position, having more control time, and slightly ahead on the total strikes this fight. I'm going to go Jared Gordon to win via decision. We're going to move on. Featherweight match here. Undefeated prospect Yadir Del Val taking on Connor Matthews. I'm going to go with the undefeated prospect here. I think he's going to be the only undefeated guy to win tomorrow night. Connor Matthews, 7-3 Connor Matthews. He hasn't looked good recently. His most recent fight was February 15th of this year, and he got knocked out in the first round. Then before that, it was about a year before that fight, in March of 24, he was knocked out in the third round. So he's coming off of 2 straight knockout losses. He's a little bit chinny. It's 10 total pro fights. He's got a little more experience than Yadir, but I think, despite having a 10-inch reach advantage, I think Yadir is going to be able to close the distance and land a power shot. I think he's going to knock Connor Matthews out. Not much else to say about this. How many fights has he had in the UFC? This is going to be his debut. Another UFC debut on this wonderful Apex card. I'm going to go with the Cuban to win. I'm not saying, I think he could be fraud checked in the future. That's what I'm trying to get out of my mouth right now. I think Yadir Deval is probably going to get fraud checked later this year, get one of those, get that 0 taken away from him, but I don't think Connor Matthews is going to be the guy to do it. 2 straight knockout losses would be, I think he's going to get knocked out again. I think it's going to be 3 straight knockout losses. We'll move on to the next fight. Women's MMA, Luana Santos taking on Tainara Lisboa. I'm going to go with the younger fighter. I'm going to go with the woman who is 9 years younger here. I'm going to go with Luana Santos. Both these girls about evenly experienced. 10 fights in the UFC to Lisboa's 9 fights, or 10 pro fights to Lisboa's 9 pro fights. Didn't do a whole lot of research with this one, I'm not going to lie. Just going to go with the younger fighter here. I haven't seen anything special out of Lisboa. Okay, she has finished almost all of her fights. Okay. She did submit her opponent on her UFC debut. Santos finishing a little more than half of her fights. Yeah, I think Luana Santos is going to win this fight via unanimous decision. Don't want to spend any more time on that one. Don't want to spend any more time on this next fight than I did on that fight analysis. But Elise Reed taking on Denise Gomez. I'm going to go with Denise Gomez. She looks like she was in the cartel. Just off this ESPN photo here, it looks like she looks like a 13-year-old boy who started to make a lot of money really at a young age working for the cartel. She's got the cartel tattoo. She's got the cartel haircut. She just kind of gives me dangerous vibes. And when I look at Elise Reed looks like she's really into Harry Potter books. Not much else to really break down this fight. Gomez is 7 years younger. I believe she's got a good amount of finishes under. Yeah, 6-1 when it comes to knockouts. So half of her wins, a little more than half, are via knockouts. Elise Reed, she's only got 2 knockouts. She's been knocked out twice. She's been submitted twice. So all of her losses is either via being knocked out or getting submitted. And I think Denise Gomez is going to add on to that. The odds agree with me on this fight. She's a minus 725 favorite. Need I say anything else? Moving on. Second fight on the entire card. Hung Sung Park taking on Carlos Hernandez. Hyung Sung Park, he is 9-0. I believe he's finished almost all of his fights but one. 4 knockouts, 4 submissions. Yeah, I think he's going to finish this fight. It's either going to be he wins a unanimous decision, 30-27, or he knocks Carlos Hernandez out. I don't know why the odds are this close. Okay, Hernandez has never knocked anybody out, but he has been chinned to Tara in December 9th of 23. I don't remember that fight. 4-1 with subs, so he's slick off of his back. All right, he's got the ability to submit you, but so does Hung Sung Park. I think he's got better striking. They're pretty much even everywhere when it comes to age, reach, that sort of thing. I'm going to go with the Korean. I'm going to go with this Hyung Sung Park to get Carlos Hernandez out of there via knockout. I think Carlos is going to get chinned again. It's going to be Carlos 10-5 Hernandez after tomorrow evening. Come back here whenever I'm right. First fight on the card. Thank God we are here. Ticia Pennington taking on Luana Pinheiro. We'll start with Pinheiro. She's got finishing potential. All right, 7 of her 11 wins were via finishes, 2 of them knockouts, 5 of them submissions. But she's coming back from 3 straight losses. They are reputable losses. Honestly, all the girls that she's lost, I like. We'll start with Amanda Ribas knocking her out in the 3rd round, finishing her. Angela Hill submitting her. That's eye-opening. I forgot that happened. Angela Hill did submit her last year. And then Jillian Robertson losing a unanimous decision. How do you get submitted by Angela Hill, but you lose a decision to Jillian Robertson? I'm going with Ticia Pennington. Ticia Pennington, she just looks like a gymnast. It became a tattoo artist. I don't know. Just the way her build looks. I think she's going to knock Luana Pinheiro out. Not actually. She's going to win a decision. Ticia Pennington has 21 total pro fights and only 2 finishes. At least she's never been knocked out. At least she's never been submitted. You can count on her to go to the distance with most fighters, whether or not they're better than her or not. But I do think she's going to finish Pinheiro. I don't know why. I just got this feeling she's going to knock her out in the 2nd round. So we're going to go with Ticia Pennington to win this fight via knockout if you want to get crafty. But yeah, just to recap, these are all my picks for the card. All right, we got Pennington winning the first fight on the card, then Hung Sung Park, then give me Gomez, Santos, Deval, Gordon, Camilo, Costa, my man, MELK Costa, Ruziboev, Santos, and then to end the night, 2 huge underdog upsets. I got either Paul Craig, which I'm a little bit shaky on, and I got Gilbert Burns. All right, one of those 2 underdogs is certainly going to hit, and if Paul Craig wins, then Gilbert Burns is certainly going to win. But if Paul Craig loses, then Gilbert Burns is certainly going to win. I'm hoping for a Gilbert Burns upset tomorrow. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. All right, give this video a thumbs up. It'll help me out a ton. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. I will try to get a breakdown out, but I am a little bit busy. I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so it might be later than expected. But that's the fight guy. Thank you so much for watching. We are in store for some amazing fights tomorrow evening. I hope you're watching them because I will be. I will see you next week.